What's up, gang? Welcome to The Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Mirshahzadeh. I'm so pumped to have you here with me. Now listen, The Greatness Machine, we're about two things. Number one, people who are living their passions. And number two, those who are creating greatness in the world and doing both of these things despite the odds against them. Each episode, we're going to feature interviews with game changers, business leaders, telling us their origin stories, what made them tick, what got them to where they are now. Why? So it can help you step into your greatness within your life, your business, and your career. Occasionally, you might hear a few solo episodes from myself, moi, as I say, as I leverage my 20 years of entrepreneurship as a CEO and founder to help you grow and level up in your journey to scale your life and your business. So come be a fly on the wall, enjoy the conversation, and I'm stoked to have you here with me. What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's episode of The Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Mirshahzadeh, and I'm flying solo here for the last show of the year, 2024. Whoa. That's all I can say. I can't believe it's going to 2025. Wow. Yeah, I'm kind of blown away. So I'm blown away for a couple of reasons. Number one is I'm young enough where like 25 years is, I guess 25 years is a long time for anybody, but I'm old enough where I was an adult in 2000. I was 21. Yeah, that's 22 years old, 21 years old when that happened. And so I'm like, damn, 25 years. We're going on the 25th year. It's like, I now know, I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, oh, this is what it's like if you were in like the 1900s. It's like the roaring 20s right now, from the turn of the century. So it's, I've been thinking about that. It's like, I'm like, that's kind of weird. Kind of 25 years. For what, I don't know what it is about the number 5 or quarter century. It's blowing my mind a little bit. I don't know if, for whatever reason, but yeah, 2024, what a year of change. You look into the world and you're like, man, crazy presidential election. The markets are out of control. For me personally, it was a year of change. And I'll be talking more about the lessons I learned in my next solo for 2024, but it was a year of change. And I'll start it off on this episode, but I have a friend, Cheryl Beth Kukler, who, I think she's been on the show. Yeah. Many, early days when this is a live stream, and, she does numerology. I love Cheryl Beth. She used to be my scaling up coach. And this is year 5 for me. And a year 5, for anyone that knows what year 5 is, it's a year of change. So 2024 was a year of change for me. I started a new business in 2023. We raised money that start in January of 2024 is when we closed on that deal. We raised $250 million for my new business and new partnership. And that's been really like getting after it with that. So I started out the year with the bang, but it's been a really a big year. And so I was doing, we were doing partner reviews with my partners yesterday. And he asked me, my partner Joe asked me, he said, well, how do you think the year went? I said, it's been a year of change. And like any year of change, you always learn a lot, and what's funny is, growth happens, experience happens. There's this really interesting quote, which is experience happens when you don't get what you want. And so I'm a person that used to be accused of being chronically dissatisfied. So that means I always kind of show up and I don't get what I want. And what's interesting is when you walk into any new anything, new business, new venture, you should set yourself up to not know what you're going to get. And so, like anything, you get a lot of experience from that. And so, because you got to shuck and move, and so we've had a big year in our business, close our first deal, but a lot of ups and downs, like any new partnership, a new business. And so it's been a big learning opportunity for me. And so I was, talking to a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine. I'm an advisor for her business. And she and I were just talking about what happens when you're in relationships with folks, and I've had some very long-term business relationships. My twin brother, Mike, is my business partner. He and I have been in business together now for 25 years. So Our first business we started was in 2000. Our first business, which was Shaw's Brothers Productions, and he and I, like that was a really gnarly first foray into business, and we were young, and we started Twin Capital together, and then Endeavor America, which became the money source, and then now Rise Growth Partners, and so I remember when we first got into all those businesses, there was a lot of volatility in our partnership. First of all, we're twin brothers. Secondly, we were new to business together, but there was a lot of trust there, and so I've learned over time that when you're in these relationships, any new relationship, and you might be thinking to yourself about the relationships you're in, and how you show up to those relationships. So, for me, being in a new partnership was definitely a new experience, an old experience, but with new folks. And so, in the past, when I've been in my partnerships, especially new ones, when I'm getting to know people, you might be thinking to yourself about like maybe a new relationship you're in, or a new business you're starting. How are you showing up? Because I've found for myself that I tend to show up pretty open-minded, but also with a lot of positions around like what I get to have in the partnership, getting to be right, and getting to posture myself in a specific way, and getting to have certain, perceptions around how people see me in the partnership. So just start to think to yourself like, man, when I'm in a new partnership or I'm in a new relationship, how am I showing up? How are people seeing me? Am I meeting them where they're at? And in the past, I thought I was doing that, when I was especially younger. And then I started realizing that I would show up the way I wanted to show up, and I would maneuver. And I think we always do this. We'll maneuver in our relationships to try to, as we start to hit these friction points. And sometimes it doesn't work that well, right? We hit these moments in the relationship. And I've had this happen in every single relationship, business relationship I've had this happen in my personal relationships as well, the ones that mean the most to me. And you hit these moments where you're like, okay, like, what do I need to do to be better in this relationship? And everyone's got to own their own stuff, but what do I got to do? How do I need to show up if I want to be better in this relationship? And so for me, 2024, both personally and professionally, was a year of like really contemplating, like, how am I showing up? What am I giving to the relationship? If things are not working the way I want them to work, what could I do to be better, to create a better outcome for the relationship? And, I was talking to my friend about this the other day, and, one of the things that she introduced me to, which I thought was really cool, and I'm going to mispronounce it right now, but it's called the Ho'oponopono prayer. And it's a Hawaiian practice that involves repeating the following phrases to express remorse, ask for forgiveness, and express gratitude and love. So you could look it up, but it's a meditation essentially, and it goes like this. You say, "I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you." And it was interesting. She's like, yeah, you should try, like if you're having any type of, friction in a relationship, and it happens all the time, like any relationship you're in, if you're in a personal relationship or business partnership, or just a friendship, like think it to yourself, when have I been at odds with the person on the other side of the aisle, right? It's going to happen in all those situations. And then think of, how am I showing up? And then is there remorse for where you're at? And it's not remorse about where, like how you interact. It could be remorse with how you interact with someone else. But I look at it as taking ownership of, where's the relationship at? Is there remorse? Is the relationship not where you want it to be? Right. And if it's not where you want it to be, do you have remorse? And I think remorse is just a way of expressing that I want things to be better than they are. Right. Which I think we can all own that. Right. But the next step of the Ho'oponopono meditation is that you repeat that mantra. So one of the things she said, if you're having friction, close your eyes, picture that person, You can do this with anyone in your life that you're not where you want to be with them in the relationship. And then repeat the mantra. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. One of the things that, so I was, I was like, all right, I'll test it. So I started trying it with different people in my life that, wanted things to be better with them. And, we all have our list. But one of the things I did in my former guest on the show, my friend Doug Irwin, what he does, one of the things he does, which I think is a really interesting practice, is he puts his hand over his heart whenever he's, doing any type of meditation, or whenever he's expressing himself, or his like gratitude or love or remorse, or just wanting to show that he cares. He puts his hand over his heart and then says his piece. So I was doing that during my meditation of the prayer, the Ha'oponopono prayer. And yeah, just going down my list of the people that I wanted to have an improved relationship with. And you don't have to do this reactively. You could do this proactively. Let's just say you can do it with anyone that you want to level up the relationship with. And a couple of things happen, actually, by the way. Number one is, by putting your hand on your heart and saying these words in your head, you say them out loud, you could say them in your head, picturing the person, is the body kind of, it's almost a little bit of a hack. You start hacking oxytocin in your body, the love hormone, right? Because you always feel better. If you put your hand on your heart, feel yourself right after you do it. You will feel better. You actually because your body's like, oh, oxytocin time, right? This happens, by the way, if you hug people. When you hug them, your body releases oxytocin. So you can Google this, and I'll put this in the show notes. But the practice of the Ha'oponopono, I'm probably mispronouncing that, is that you close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, repeat the mantra to yourself about 7 or 8 times. And, the really, what you're trying to do is you're trying to say to your body to apologize for not treating it well, or for having unloving thoughts, right? And you're really doing it for yourself, right? So this is a very selfish act, because if you notice, whenever you're in odds, maybe you with anybody, or you've had a situation that didn't go the way you wanted to go, like what happens? We start ruminating. We start, Dave Emerald talks about this in the empowerment dynamic, where we go into victim mode. We start, arguing with those folks in our heads, or arguing with ourselves, or beating ourselves up about ways we could have done things better. And for me, it always comes from an internal system, family systems younger part of me, right? Where I'm like, all right, that's like junior high Darius, or that's high school Darius. He's pissed. He wants to be right. He wants to be the man, whatever it is. And it's around taking it the other way and being like, hey man, everything's going to be okay. And then turning around, and let's say it's a situation with my son, or it's a situation with my brother, or it's a situation with my wife, or a situation with a business partner, or a situation with a former business partner. It's around expressing forgiveness, because how did I show up that maybe maybe not even aware of, that's putting them on the defense, and they're reacting to me, right? So it's really taking ownership of how I'm showing up in the world, and saying, hey, like, I'm not perfect either, because I can do that. I can take ownership on the fact that maybe I did do something that I wasn't even aware of, that's making that other person really frustrated. It's never just one-sided, right? And what I've realized in business, especially, when it happens in a personal life. I mean, I look at my year, man, like I had a lot of friction in my personal relationships outside of business too. And it's been an interesting year for that, so then it begs to differ. Like, there's a quote in finance, which is, the trend is your friend, right? So for me, I've noticed that, 2024 was a year of change. It was a year of friction, and it happened in many parts of my life. And it was just one of those things where I was like, I can't see what it is. Why is this happening this way? Now, it could just be bad luck, because that happens too. Some of it's out of your control, but I'll take ownership of it. And then to say, okay, well, how am I showing up for the folks around me, the people I care about, that I love, which are anyone that I'm close to, that I'm spending a lot of time and energy to try to build, a long lasting relationship with it. And if the relationship's not where I want it to be, who do I have to give forgiveness to? Like, I'm going to forgive myself, but who do I want to apologize to so I can make things better? Or at least take my ownership, because they don't have to accept it, or they can keep showing up in a way that maybe isn't aligned with the way I'm showing up. And over time, then you start to choose like, hey, is this really going to work or not? But initially, it's how do I show up? And I've seen this a lot. Also, I'm in a bunch of CEO groups, and there'll be ways I show up where it pisses people off. I know I'm a controversial person. I know I have a strong personality. I know that I have a big vibe. So, whether you have a big personality or a small personality, we all affect those around us in different ways. And the best we can do is really show up. And again, going back to Dave Emerald's the empowerment dynamic, how are we showing up to be a creator, right? How are we showing up to educate those around us for how we are, what makes us our best, so that we can help get alignment around creating a better outcome, right? And it goes back to education, right? Educating our audience. It goes back to values. Are you aligned to your values? Are you aligning your values to the greater outcome? Are you aligning your values to someone else's values? And then educating them on that, and then learning what their values are too, so that you can, meet them where they're at, as we say in conscious leadership. But the biggest thing, this is a new concept for me, is like, hey man, you're not perfect, D. You can forgive yourself. Don't be, and think about this. Are you your harshest critic? More than likely. I was mentioning this to someone the other day. I said, I'm my harshest critic. So if I'm going to be my harshest critic, then I need to also give myself some grace. And so this Ha'opo'ono prayer is a really interesting way to do that, because I can give myself forgiveness. And then I can go across, and once I've done that, it's like, hey man, forgive yourself. You're okay. You can go across the aisle and you could say to the other person, hey, I apologize. I don't even know maybe what I'm apologizing for, but I just know that whatever I'm doing maybe isn't creating the best outcome. And I'm sorry for that. I don't want you to feel that way. Right. So again, it's, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. You say it over and over again, closing your eyes, imagining the other person, see their face smiling, like think of them as their best version of themselves. Hand on your heart and repeat it over and over. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And so for me, I started the practice. She had said, hey, just try it for, pick a couple folks that you want to build a better relationship with, and try the practice for a couple weeks. See what happens. So I'm on like day 4, but it was something that was new to me. It was, like I said, it was really interesting. I was surprised. It felt a little squishy when she said it. I call her the witch, she's a little bit woo woo. But it was a really cool introduction to a tool that I found to be valuable. The other thing I'd heard the other day, which I thought was interesting, was another hack that kind of is along the same lines, is before you go to bed. I can't remember who was saying this, but it was someone on social, I overheard them talking about this, which is before they go to bed, they go back to the beginning part of their day, and they take inventory of every positive thing that happened to them before they go to bed. And so it's like, close your eyes, imagine you woke up in the morning. So for me, an example would be, I wake up in the morning, have a really nice cup of coffee, hug my son, hug my wife, read a really funny article. So I was literally like taking inventory, and it's a really cool practice. So again, it's this other practice, and it's this thing, and you do it right before you go to bed, right? It might take like 5-10 minutes, and you're just like searching for these nuggets. It's almost like a wild goose chase, but scavenger hunt for what were the positive things that happened to me during my day. And I do that actually, again, with my hand on my heart, because I want to express gratitude for this life I get to live. And life, it doesn't need to be easy. It needs, you can find gratitude in anything, And there's plenty of works out there where you can read the books of people that had really hard lives, but that was how they figured out a way to appreciate what they have, because you can find it appreciation and gratitude in any moment, even in tense moments, even in moments where we need to forgive ourselves, even in moments where we need to apologize to others. Having the gratitude to get to do that, right? To be grateful for the opportunity to create a better life for ourselves, because you only get one life. And I lost a really important friend of mine this week. I'm going to talk about it in the next episode. Just an absolute legend. Passed away yesterday. And it was really hard. And I thought to myself, man, like, be grateful for what you have. Like, you have one life for all you know. And we hope that it continues on once we transition to the other side, but who knows? So, I know this is a bit of a somber ending. I wanted to kind of end the year with some really deep thoughts around how am I showing up to forgive myself? How am I showing up to have gratitude for the life I get to have every day? And how do I show up and really show remorse for maybe how I'm not showing up to be my best self for others, or to get the best out of others, and to meet them where they're at, to meet myself where I'm at, and to really get to enjoy this life, because it's not the big things that matter, it's the little things that matter. And that's how we really level up. It's having those moments where we understand that we are not necessarily perfect, and nor are other people, but we can only control our own. So this is my ending for the year. Appreciate you all for listening to the show. I'd always like to give you my largest learnings, and hope you had an amazing 2024, and we'll see you again in 2025. Peace out, everyone. We love you.
She's my lover. You are listening to The Greatness Machine, and that's a wrap for today. Listen, if you love what you heard, subscribe to the show on whatever podcast platform that you're tuning in on, so that you don't miss any of our future episodes. We have tons of great people coming on, and we're stoked to have you here to enjoy it with us. Leave us a review. Tell us what you love most about this particular episode. We love getting the reviews. We love to see what you guys love most. And if this particular episode, made you think of someone who's leveling up in their business and in their life, print screen, share it with them. Leaders are the best givers. And after all, we're all here to support and grow with each other. And in case you want to see some of the fun behind the scenes shots or some of the things that we're doing, I'm actually writing about this in my weekly newsletter. Go to www.therealdarius.com and subscribe to my newsletter. We're talking about fun things like business and life and mindfulness and cryptocurrencies and gosh, I don't even know, everything and anything, but it's tons of fun stuff I write about. I try to get it out on a weekly basis. You can subscribe at www.therealdarius.com. And with that said, look, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I love you. Peace. We're out of here. See you guys on the next one.
She's my lover.